Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the afternoon session. Would you please come in and take your seats? All right, first off, let me begin this afternoon's session by thanking our lunch sponsor, Saskatchewan in Motion, for a fabulous lunch. I'd now like to introduce the Honourable Darryl Hickie, Minister of Municipal Affairs. Minister Hickie was first elected to the legislature in the 2007 provincial election. He was invited by Premier Bradwell to serve in the first Saskatchewan Party Cabinet as the Minister of Corrections, Public Safety and Policing. In 2010, he was appointed as Minister of Municipal Affairs, where he has served ever since. Minister Hickie was successfully re-elected in the 2011 general election. He has been a faithful, honest, and hard-working partner of SUMA, and we know his passion for the importance of urban government has only grown in the time he has served in this portfolio. Delegates, please join me in showing SUMA's appreciation for our minister and our friend, the Honourable Darryl Hickie.
Well, thank you, President Earl. I appreciate those kind remarks, and I'd like to extend a very hearty welcome from the Governor of Saskatchewan, as the Premier did this morning, to all the delegates. I've said it before that things in this province get done as a team, and you have some great people working in your municipalities, from elected officials and administrators and the staff that deal with the calls from the ratepayers who aren't happy with you or may have this time of year especially. I understand there's some taxing issues going on, some decisions at budget time, so I see my mayor is here, so I know what I read in the paper last night, so I expect we'll be talking about that as well. It's been good this morning. I've seen a lot of familiar faces. I want to point out one lady here from Nipawin, Kathy Paldawar. We went to high school together, and she's a consummate liar. She'll say anything bad. Don't believe a single thing, because I know that she's got no skeletons at all she wants to discuss with anybody at the hospitality suite. It's good to see you again, Kathy. You know, the mayor my mayor has always talked about how the city of Prince Albert is growing. The area is growing. We heard this morning from the Premier the population number in Saskatchewan. That's a number that we shall be very proud of, because it's because of all of your hard work that people are coming back to Saskatchewan. And you know, that's the thing I want to talk about today. It's about the strength of people. This is a very exciting time in our province right now, as we know. We see that we have people coming from all over the world to Canada and to Saskatchewan. And we see those demands on all of our governments across the board, federal, provincial, and municipal. So we can still work together to solve these issues moving forward as a team. That's very important. You know, there are another number here that's very important for us is 2,804. That's the number of municipal administrators and councillors that are working so hard to have businesses attracted to this province, and the actual resources to staff those businesses, the labor that's coming to this province. So I want to thank you as well, because again, we're moving together as a province, and the Premier's talked about that, about the Saskatchewan advantage as well. You know, I have to say I'm very proud of what we have accomplished, because at the end of the third quarter of this fiscal year, the ministry has approved 845 subdivision applications. Pardon me. Our grants team oversaw economic stimulus, the funding to a total of 265 infrastructure projects with more than $79 million paid out to date. It's a very impressive number in Saskatchewan. I want to thank you for that hard work. Our advisory services team hosted 17 workshops, and collectively, I did not know this until recently, but our municipal affairs team fielded over 30,000 calls last year from individuals, ratepayers, but also from the people here today who have questions. And again, it's one of those issues where if we have a question of you, we can reach out to you, and we're always there to support you in your endeavors as well. You know, we also had a very busy year because of an election, and I want to thank all of you for the month that we all had off running. I believe the ministry worked very well in that month. There wasn't a lot of demands, but everyone knew that the outcome was going to dictate what the next steps are. And the Premier's talked about things like the ongoing infrastructure package we have to work together on, and I'll have more to say about that shortly. I'm honored to have been elected to a second term, as are my colleagues, to be able to serve the people of Saskatchewan. We do this job with a lot of humility, and we're very humble. We don't ever take for granted one single day that we're in our offices because of the job we can do for you. And I know I speak on behalf of my colleagues that say that their phone lines are always open and the doors are always open as well. So I made reference to a point before, though, when I went touring the province last summer. I didn't get a chance to see all of you, but those I did see got this message loud and clear, and it's been utilized, and I want to put it out again. As your minister, I'm here to be your liaison to Cabinet. Anytime you have a question, you need to have some support, you need my staff to get involved in any shape or way or form or fashion, please phone. We know that there are ministries who are very busy and you may not get the response you want right away, but just have some patience, and if you're not getting that call back, let us know, and we'll intervene on your behalf as well. So please utilize the staff. The Premier talked about the issue of our revenue sharing piece. Of course, in this next budget year, you will see an increase to $237 million. And I want to thank you as well for working collaboratively in that effort initially. You're going to see that work going on forward as well as we keep the negotiations moving on with the working groups to ensure that money and the percentages to the pools are distributed properly. And we look to your guidance and your counsel on that. We don't want to have to get involved. We want you to work it out yourselves, and I think to date things have gone very well in that aspect. I'm encouraged by the level of optimism when I met with SARM and SUMA before Christmas and how we're going to work the New North area as well. Talking to them in the past, lines of communication are very much open, and it's a good working environment, so I want to just make sure we maintain that focus. You know, I've said before that we have a lot of partnerships within the sector at various events I've been at. But the launch of the Municipal Government Sustainable Self-Assessment Tool is a resource to help you remain vibrant and sustainable. And I know the ministry staff are very excited on how the relationships are moving along those lines as well. And again, it's one of those kind of things that we hear about what's needed in the province to keep moving forward, and we turn to you again for those kind of ideas, those kind of initiatives. We know we have some great experts in our ministry. I'm not going to say I know everything about municipal affairs. I know the people in this room have a lot more experience than I have, and I want to turn to you for your advice and your counsel, as do the ministry staff, so thank you very much for that. You know, we talked about the numbers. We talked about how exciting it is to be in a province that's moving forward. But I said before, I'll say it again, this is about people. And you know what? Those 845 new subdivisions mean that we're going to see more homes for residents. Millions of dollars of investment across the province to actually have a place, a sustainable environment for people to live in and grow in. Communities will grow as well because of that. There's still more work to do ahead of us for sure. We know that. I don't think any one of us in this room will say that we've hit the peak and we're going to stop and just take the foot off the gas. But again, it's one of those issues where communication back and forth and working together to solve these issues. The big thing we talk about a lot, and we do maybe too much so, and I like to say that maybe we need to step back a bit on this, is that, you know what, we get caught up in the whole issue of infrastructure and our specific roles, how we have to focus on my role as minister, the federal government's role when we talk to them, your roles to your ratepayers and your people. I think there's a lot of advantageous environment now. There's an advantageous environment to working together and taking a collaborative message up to Ottawa. And I'll be there next week to talk about, for the PT ministers, to talk about the ongoing pressures we're hearing in our provinces, whether it's rural or urban municipalities, it makes no difference. The one thing that I will stress, and I've been very blessed to be able to present the paper on the working group involved with the infrastructure piece, great work done by the staff in municipal affairs. John Edwards is one individual I will single out again. At the infrastructure summit we had here last year in Regina, he chairs that working group, and he's a wealth of knowledge. I turn to him every day just about to ask where are we at and what can we do better. And we're going to go next week, and we're going to still put the message to the federal minister that we need a sustainable funding model from them to help with us to project our funding needs and yours as well moving forward. That's very critical. And as the minister that's been able to present that paper 2 years in a row, I look forward to being able to make that statement clear, loud and clear, next Monday in Ottawa. The efforts that we all put in, I think we sit back and we know we've done a good job. We hear that occasionally from people that we work with. You know, I want to just say that we have a great group of men and women in this province, and I think it's important that we illustrate that point. And I want to turn your attention to the screens now, please, just to for a few minutes and just pay attention to some of the stakeholder information.
According to many economists, Saskatchewan's economy is predicted to lead Canada in growth this year.
Right now, you look in rural Saskatchewan and industry is growing. We're dealing with things that we've never dealt with before.
Our community is a growing little northern community. We've had housing starts and our community is booming.
There was a crane at the north end of our city, at the south end, and at the interior. So our city is energized.
We'll be able to have people move to our community and know that their children are going to have the same access to facilities that they would in a larger center.
A lot of development that didn't stand a chance before now has the chance of going forward.
It should mean more commercial businesses, you know, and also more residential people for sure.
A project like this kindles entrepreneurial spirit that would say, hey, you know what, this is happening here. Melville's a progressive community. Maybe I should open a little store, or maybe I should build a house here and live here because things are happening in the community and this is a good, solid community to call home.
The economy gets better, the socioeconomic status gets better, so it's definitely kind of a kindling of a larger fire in order of betterment for all people in the north.
Every dollar in a municipality is valuable.
Both the federal and provincial governments just knocked our socks off with the money that they came through with.
This never would have happened if it wouldn't have been for the federal government and provincial government throwing in the money that they did.
We wouldn't have been able to fund the project ourselves.
To build for the future, we needed assistance.
This project boosts morale of your community. You know you have the basic infrastructure you need to grow. It alleviates that worry of basics, and you can concentrate on those future goals, and that stars in the sun are kind of the aim for any future project.
I know that communities have limited resources.
We're catching up on the management of infrastructure, facilities, buildings, roads.
We have 40% of our assets out of 120 communities in the province are built between 1960 and 1970. And there's a wave, and it's moving towards us.
Municipalities need to ensure that when they undertake projects, that 5, 10, 20 years from now, that these type of projects will have the ability to continue to provide services.
Asset management is important because we need to look at what we're going to have for our children when they come through.
We want our community to stay strong and vibrant.
If you like where you're living and you appreciate everything that you've got, you want to protect that, project that forward so that the next generation can also like where they're living.
Planning for the future is always a work in progress because you actually never get to the future.
It's awful nice now to say that our kids aren't leaving this province and that they want to stay.
And with lots of more things to do and more buildings coming up and more facilities, it'd be nice to raise a family.
Been working 8 years doing this and never got to come home. Coming home for the last little bit has been nice, and to be able to walk in there later knowing that I had a part in this kind of makes you feel good inside.
The most exciting part of it is that we've worked together on a massive project which can also spearhead future projects in anything from health education to infrastructure.
That's really exciting to look at what's the next thing are we going to tackle, what's the next project we're going to work together with, and it seems like we get a lot more done when we work together.
I want to thank those people who took part in those clips. I think unbeknownst to them, they were going to be utilized in something like this, but there were so many more stories we could have used. But I have to speak, apparently. Otherwise, I would let everyone just speak for at least 20 minutes. But, you know, we talk about the whole issue of infrastructure. Again, I want to mention this fact that that's the biggest thing front of mind for all of us, I think, in this room. I know myself personally as your minister, my staff as well that work with me. It's one of those things that we worked on for the last little while, the whole long-term infrastructure piece that the Premier alluded to this morning. We're going to find at the end of this year, in the fall, we'll see some resolution to that. I want to thank everybody who's had input to that already. We've had some interesting talks regarding, you know, the best practices, researching the innovative ways to fund new infrastructure models moving forward. Now we're on the defining of the gap. We all know there's a gap that has to be, you know, resolved. What is it, though? And some places are higher and more ahead of others in regards to records management, and we're looking to move this file forward to get that resolution in the fall. So we now have the next process of this Build in Saskatchewan type kind of a format. You know, we talk about the issue of long-term sustainability, and the commitment that we want to talk to with stakeholders all the time is to work on gathering all the data necessary. We don't know what's out there. We want to make the most informed decisions. Again, it goes to the fact that we need to be consulting and taking your counsel all the time. We do have a balanced budget format, to be sure, yes, but I think with this new format coming forward, we'll be able to use resources better, more efficiently, as we try to fill this gap across our great province. And part of that, of course, is the research that's being done to solve these, to make solutions possible. And every town and village, city are doing their part locally to do these things, so we want to listen to your advice as well moving forward on that. You know, we have to actually look at the issue of reactive responses to needs and planning for those needs. And again, I think that the research done to date that we're hearing is showing that the whole issue of working as a team, in fact, in some of our centers, they're talking about where they're going to move to, the Planning for Growth initiative, regional planning, how to best utilize dollars, you know, the whole issue of economies of scale when you're purchasing those goods and services as well. But we have a responsibility to manage and look after infrastructure as we go forward. And I think everyone in this room understands that very well. The non-elected officials, I think, more so than the elected officials, because you're the ones that have to plan the budgeting. You need to understand your financial capacity, where it's at. How do you advise your elected officials to, I say lobby as a word, because it's the first word that comes to mind, us, and I use that information to go to Ottawa as well. I know FCM has a big role to play for you. You're going to hear from them next. So as a team, we have a great response to work on. You know, I've talked about in the past that we've had, you know, the three levels of government, federal, municipal, and the whole issue of provincial governments, bringing into play $1 billion combined to solve this infrastructure problem, to look at the deficit. There's still more work to be done for sure, and I think that's a good starting point for us. We could all be very proud of that work we've done. The issue that has come to mind, of course, is asset management. It's a tool we're going to use. Tangible capital asset management was a term when I first heard about it when I got appointed. It took a lot of time to understand it. But I know right now that there's some great work being done by the volunteer working group. And I know a lot of people in this room are very excited about where that's going to take us, how it's being used to actually look at the cost to operate the facilities and what level of service they actually provide. And we all know that levels of service in infrastructure is what our ratepayers, our people in the province, want to have. So we haven't got that time to say it's good enough, it's in the ground, we're going to leave it. We have to keep working, always moving forward, assessing what we have, talking to each other, working on the next plan, because our communities depend on what we do as leaders, day in, day out, as we plan for their future. And we see developing communities all across Saskatchewan. And we're seeing this emergence of this rural-urban working group, which is excellent as well, as we plan for growth moving forward. The thing that I also want to talk about next is, you know, the whole issue of the Saskatchewan Municipal Asset Management Working Group, because of the fact that they are the ones we turn to as their leadership. As a government, we want to make sure that we have their input, and we're going to look to them for answers moving forward. Mayor Fiacco and the members in Regina have done a great job in this long-term infrastructure piece, working with the other municipal leaders. I believe the next conference is September this year. So we look forward to being a part of that as well, and assisting and taking, again, more counsel and more information from researchers as they come forward. The other issue we want to talk about, of course, is our legislative commitment about the pool of revenue sharing that we've talked about, having the working groups together. I just want to touch on it one more time. It's important as we move forward that we're seeing that we have a lot of demands on our communities across Saskatchewan. And your work at that table, hopefully it'll be done sooner than later, but I know that we're looking for a resolution by September to take back to Cabinet with the final outcome. And we're there to support you, but I think that the knowledge base that sits around the table is second to none, and we're going to take that counsel going on as well. So the whole issue moving forward as well on regional planning, you know, we had a great experience with the Planning for Growth initiative, and we're seeing it across Saskatchewan. I want to talk about the Dundurn Rural Water Utility, where a number of RMs came together with the towns of Dundurn, Hanley, and the Blackstrap Provincial Park to develop a single water system that collectively serves, you know, over 1,800 households. That's important because it goes to the point of we're seeing expansion, and we're needing to look at the idea of a regionalization approach, not forced amalgamation. I will never say that. Everyone here is autonomous. Everyone here has the responsibility to serve their people. And, you know, we're looking at different models through regional planning authorities, district planning commissions moving forward. But again, economy of scale. Things are expensive. Labor is very expensive. But we look forward to having those groups working together. And if you have an issue you want to discuss, we've got some great staff in municipal affairs that work as independent kind of a mediator to help bring the people together if you come to an impasse. So we're looking for that maintained stability going forward and that momentum as we're seeing right now. The motto in Saskatchewan is for many people, strength. And I think that's the one focus I've had in the last year and a half or so as your minister that I talk about every time I go somewhere. I mentioned it a few times this afternoon. I turn to you. I turn to my staff. They turn to you. Our ratepayers turn to you and us as a collective team. And together, I know that we have a lot of information together that we can share with people. But it's that strength that we have that some of us don't realize. It's talking about new ideas, bring innovation and new processes of how to finance projects. I say to my staff, if it's an idea, never is one idea a dumb idea. Talk about it. Let's hear about it. Because you know what? That might generate someone else's thought process that says, you know what, I thought about that too, but I wasn't sure how that would work out. And we're seeing that within some of these working groups we have right now. I guess just in closing, what I want to say to you is that I've been very honored to be your minister. It's been a great experience. Every time I go into a room and I see my mayor, I always wonder that, you know, I would make sure I want to give him some kudos because if I don't get elected again, I'm back to policing and you're the guy that holds that key. So just want to make sure you let me know that I still have welcome in Prince Albert if I have to, but hopefully I can stay on and serve you any way, shape, or form. And my staff are always there for you. I look forward to the dialogue session and I look forward to the Bear Pit. Although after the Premier's speech and mine today, I'm sure there'll be no questions. So thank you so very much. I appreciate that.